Welcome to Rotten Damians. Today we're going to break down everything you need to know about Evil Dead Rise. From the spine-tingling plot to the mind-bending ending. And of course, the lovable Easter eggs that pay homage to the original movies.
There's so many Easter eggs.
For those unfamiliar with the Evil Dead series, Sam Raimi dropped out of film school to create the 1981 cult classic titled The Evil Dead, which was a terrifying tale of demonic possession, dark magic, and the relentless battle between humanity and the forces of evil. It is incredibly gory and, oddly enough, comical. Decades later, we have Evil Dead Rise, directed and written by Lee Cronin. Can he maintain the hype and keep up with Sam? Let's find out. Before we begin, you need to know that the opening scene is set a day ahead of the main portion of the movie. You know how the Evil Dead franchise love messing around with the timeline? So, the movie starts with the familiar first-person view of something moving quickly through the air. Usually, it is the point of view of a demon, but in this opening scene, it's just Caleb's drone. It's nice to see a more modern iteration of this trope. We do also get the classic demon point of view a little bit later in the movie. Teresa goes to check out their cabin in the woods. And oh, these visuals pay homage to the original movies. Because, well, it's a cabin in the woods and the original movies were set in a cabin in the woods. This cabin is just obviously a little bit more modern, which seems to be a familiar trend with Cronin. He uses Evil Dead traditions and modernizes them, hence the point of view drone shot, and now the cabin. Inside the cabin, we get a camera view of a grand old clock and a flower ribbon, both hinting at the original movies. In the original movie and the 2013 remake, there was a grand old clock, and the flowers are a recurring theme in the soundtrack. We literally hear them in all 5 movies. It's nice to see that Cronin kept it consistent, and it helps create the familiar feel of Evil Dead. It also just feels like Cronin is paying respects to Sam Raimi and the fans. Teresa checks on her drugged out friend named Jessica, who is actually turning into a deadite. She sits down to read her book, but Jessica decides that she wants to tell Teresa a story and begins to read the words of her book telepathically. This is similar to the scene in the original Evil Dead where a deadite telepathically reads everyone's hand of cards.
8 of spades, 2 spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs.
Jessica ends up murdering Teresa and Caleb, and then we switch to the present where we meet our protagonist, Beth. Beth is pregnant and unsure what to do about the baby, so she goes to visit her sister Ellie in hopes of her having the solution. Evil Dead Rise also has themes of siblinghood, which follows suit with the original and the 2013 reboot. Again, this detail adds to the familiar feel of the franchise and allows us to build a bond with the characters. Ellie's kids go get pizza, allowing the sisters to catch up. And when the kids return from the store, an earthquake hits. Bridget drops the pizza to try and find a safe hiding spot. And while she runs away, we get a view of the pizza box. The pizza store is named Henrietta's, who was a deadite in the second Evil Dead. The box also says, "Come get some," which was Ash Williams' famous catchphrase in Army of Darkness.
Come get some.
The earthquake causes the floor to split open and reveal an old bank vault. Danny hops down to explore it and he finds the Necronomicon. Cronin said he took inspiration for the Necronomicon directly from Army of Darkness, which means we can deduce that this is the 3rd book, considering that in Army of Darkness there were 3. We saw the 1st book in the original Evil Dead, the 2nd book in the 2013 reboot, and the 3rd book now. Dan takes it back to his room where he tries to open it, but the book won't open until he accidentally cuts himself on the binding and spills his blood onto the cover. The book soaks up the blood and begins opening. Dan also found 2 records alongside the Necronomicon. He plays the first recording and we hear a short cameo by Bruce Campbell, who played Ash Williams in the original Evil Deads.
It's called the Book of the Dead for a reason!
He plays the second recording and the priest reads the demonic words to awaken the demon. This obviously follows suit with all the other Evil Dead films. Unfortunately, the demon that Danny awoke flies straight into Ellie inside of an elevator. We then see wires come out of the paneling and wrap around her to prepare her for possession. This is like the possession in the original Evil Dead, except in that one they were in a forest and it was vines that wrapped around her. This homage is further built on with Ellie's tattoos. She has tattoos of vines on her arms. It also supports my point where Cronin modernizes the traditions of Evil Dead. Ellie then completes her transformation into Deadite and commits a series of brutal attacks. One involves a cheese grater, which is probably the most iconic scene in the movie, and others pay homage to previous Evil Dead deaths. For example, Ellie tries to stab Bridget's eye with a tattoo gun, which is similar to the scene in the 2013 remake where Deadite stabs a needle into one of the human's eyes. Or when she spits Gabriel's eye into Jake's mouth, causing him to choke. This is similar to Evil Dead 2 where a Deadite's eye flies directly into a human's mouth, causing them to choke. Also, in case you missed it, during the scene where Beth is fixing the turntable, in the background, we can see Ellie climbing the wall. I included this detail because I know the scene was dark, so a few of you may have missed it. Ellie then says, "I'll swallow your soul," which is another iconic line from Evil Dead 2. Okay, so Danny, Bridget and Ellie are all Deadites, but thankfully Cassie and Beth have killed them, which temporarily immobilizes them. They use this as an opportunity to escape, but before they leave the building, Beth grabs her boomstick.
Is my boomstick!
It's nice to see that Cronin included both iconic weapons in the franchise. We see the boomstick now, and later the iconic chainsaw. Before Beth and Cassie can escape, the Deadites regain consciousness and begin chanting "Death by Dawn," which is also what the Deadites chanted in the second Evil Dead. The girls make it outside, but the Deadite monster is following them. They play a game of tag around a yellow mustard car, which pays homage to Ash's mustard yellow car in the original Evil Dead. The Deadites grab Cassie and use a mustard yellow chainsaw to try and kill her. I'm not going to count the chainsaw again because we already counted it when we saw the boomstick. Beth comes to save the day by shooting the monster and saying a pretty iconic line.
"Come get some."
Again, I'm not going to count the catchphrase because we counted it on the pizza box. An Easter egg I will count though is the fact that throughout the entire movie, Beth has been wearing a denim blue dress, which hints at Ash's attire in the original Evil Dead. He wore a blue denim shirt. Beth kills the monster by pushing it into a wood chipper, and the girls leave the complex hand in hand. Before the movie ends, we see Jessica, the girl from the beginning of the movie, go downstairs, where she notices all the blood and dead-eye chunks. We then take the point of view of a demon that possesses her. This takes place just before she leaves for a camping trip that we saw during the opening scene. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and for me to reach my goals. I really love this movie and I wish I could cover it more in depth. I actually made a 15-minute YouTube video discussing all the hidden details and behind the scenes. But unfortunately, Warner Bros. Blocked the video from publication, despite there being much longer and more copyright heavy videos about Evil Dead Rise already on YouTube. But anyway, I've been trying to publish that video for months now with no luck. So if you see this video, it means I finally succeeded. If you made it this far into the video, drop a comment saying "I'll swallow your soul." Thank you for watching, I'll see you next week.